All right. This is Raby Lobo. Hello, and this is a super special impromptu episode of Apply. It's so impromptu that I was really working on something new called the Toolbox, which is going to be discussing like specific tools. But GitHub released this really amazing thing, and I just wanted to be able to share it with you. So I decided to just sort of launch the Apply branding, and hopefully this will make sense to you whenever you see it. So GitHub launched this thing called CodePilot, and it is really kind of a life-changing sort of tool for developers. It uses artificial intelligence to help you code things. And it's sort of like AutoComplete or Visual Studio Code has this feature that as you're typing code, it kind of suggests things to you, but it's definitely a lot more useful than what you get currently with autocomplete and those kind of things. So if you take a look at their website, and let me give you sort of the bigger view of their website so you can see what's going on. They'll tell you that it's an AI pair programmer, and essentially it just gives you suggestions that go more than just a single line or more than offering you just a single line. And what it's doing in the background is giving you essentially taking the code that is on your current file, analyzing it, and also if you write a function, it's going to look for code that you are trying to type. So I'll show you in just a minute. So it's going to sort of look for things that you're trying to do and give you suggestions on code based on public code from GitHub. And it's not like a search engine. It's a little bit different, and just actually give you an option to take a look at the code. So, the dirty little secret about being a programmer is that you're always looking for things. Everybody uses something like a Mozilla Developer Network, or you also end up definitely in Stack Overflow to look for solutions. And you also go to maybe a browser or a website like CSS Tricks to look for how to do things. So CSS Trick, I think, has this thing called the Almanac, which is just a bunch of snippets of code. And then there's also gists. So if you have a GitHub account, you also have a GitHub gist. And you have access to a bunch of, small pieces of code. So somehow I didn't go to gists. So github.com/planet of the web will take you to my gists. And I put lots of sort of different snippets of codes in there. So since GitHub has access to this Visual Studio Code extension for right now, as you're typing in code, it can look through all this existing code that has been done by other people and give you suggestions on how to use that in your project. So it does recognize a ton of different languages, although I'm just going to show you a couple of examples. With JavaScript, it does recognize a lot of different languages. So anything like Python, you can use, of course, JavaScript, TypeScript, and any of the other languages. So it's going to try to autofill things for you, and I will show you some examples. If you go to the site, which is copilot.github.com, there are a lot of just frequently asked questions right here. I suggest that you go take a look at those because it does answer a lot of the questions about where is it getting that code from? Is my code going to be, the rest of my code, is it going to be safe? So protecting originality, how is it training? And also how you're going to be able to get this. For right now, the way to get this, they're releasing it to a very small select group of people. Thank goodness they allowed me access to it. And what you have to do is you have to click on the sign up screen. And once you do that, you'll get like a little form. I've already got it installed, so it's telling me that I'm already in there. But it's a very limited waiting list. The reason for that is because this AI does take a lot of computing resources. So it isn't something that they can just open up to everyone because it's going to just take a massive amount of resources to actually do that whole analysis and get you back the code that you're going to want. So let's see, I have some comments already. So hopefully, hey, okay, so it's just people saying hi. I know a couple of questions already here, so that's great. Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on YouTube right now. So yeah, somebody put in the URL, which that's great. Thank you, Peter. I was going to mention that. And definitely there's a few questions here. I'll get to them in just a minute. Yeah, they can't allow everybody into this because if they did, it would just probably blow up all their machines, as many machines as they might have. I mean, it's Microsoft. So they're planning a very slow rollout. But once this launches, I think that has the potential of really changing how you code, and it's a super cool addition that I had no idea was coming. So let's see if I can just go to some code and share what this thing does. So I'm going to have to unshare, I think, first. Remove this, and then let's see. Let's close this stop screen, and we'll open up a new one here. I haven't been in this this program in quite a while. So just give me a second to get to my code. So this is I'm sharing right now the code for my blog, which is rabo.org. And I just needed a page to open. You can do this in just about any. Oh, dang it! I just closed it. Did I say that I haven't been? I haven't been using StreamYard in a while, so I'm like a little bit rusty here. So let me try sharing that again. Share screen and go to the window. Visual Studio Code. Let's try that, and then we'll open up. Let's see if I can open recent. Right, you could really just open up an empty, an empty JavaScript file, but I just was going to show you how it works sort of in context. So this is just some code that I have on my website. And what you can do is literally just start writing a function with a name that makes sense for the AI. So you can say function generate random integer, right? And when you do that, it's actually giving you the solution here, right? So it's analyzing your code, and it's even looking at the rest of my code in here. However, it's actually giving me more than just sort of what Visual Studio Code would give you. It's suggesting a piece of code to me. And if I don't like this particular solution, although this one looks fine to me, actually, if I want to accept that solution, all I have to do is just hit tab, and it'll actually insert that solution into my code. Right now, I mean, it is brand new, so it is inserting like maybe more spaces than I actually would. But let's go ahead and delete the solution. I'll show you something else. You can also hit the Option or the Alt key and then go through solutions. Right now, there's not going to be a lot of different versions of this. But if there were more solutions, then you can hit Option or Alt and the brackets, and it would give you some additional solutions for this type of things. Let's see. So let's try something else. So let's try something like get tags from string. It's going to take a second, and it's going to give you a solution here. Let's see if there's any other options. So you can see here now, if I hit the bracket, it's actually giving you some different options here. And you can pick whichever one you like. So this is going to split a string, into commas, and then it's going to trim them just in case there's any white space in between them in the string, and return that. So that works. So I could hit tab, but there's also another cool little feature. You can also see that if I roll over the text, you can see the sort of commands here. Next, previous, I can accept by using tab, or I can use this other feature called Open Copilot. So I don't think I really need any of this over here. So let me collapse that so we have more room. And I'm going to hand you here, Control Enter, I guess, if you want to see this. So what this do is it synthesizes 10 solutions for you. So out of all the code that exists in the world, it's going to give you the 10 solutions that the AI thinks are the most relevant. So you can come in here and take a look at these different solutions. And once you find one that you like, you can hit accept solution, and it's going to just insert that code. So it's a little bit better than the other thing that we were doing because, you don't have to, sort of go through 10 different solutions. It's actually letting them see you all in one page, and then you can just go ahead and, select the one that you like. So there's also another way that you can use this, and that is with comments. So for example, a lot of times I'll be prototyping something that I'm building and I need like a JSON list of people objects. So let's see if it's going to give me that. For this one, I can hit caret return and it's going to sort of give me some options here. So here it's when you type in a comment of what you think you're looking for, that's a good place to hit open Copilot. And then it's going to give you some sample code here. So here's a good list of people. This one even has phone numbers, or maybe you just see something with a URL. And then you just go, boom, upset solution. Now you have a data object that you can prototype a simple application with. So it can also not just synthesize the names of your functions, it also lets you synthesize comments. And as I mentioned, it works with different types of files. So if we were looking at something like, say, my, see in the overrides, I have a bunch of CSS. So this is actually Sass. It's smart enough to say so. And even though this is not a valid Sass comment, it's fine. It'll just sort of look in the AI for how to do something like lighten the color. And again, you can look through the different examples. And if you hit tab, it'll also start sort of fixing things for you, type it in the code. So you just keep on hitting tab, return, and it kind of writes the function line by line. I'm not sure that's as useful. Or as I mentioned before, you can just do the, roll over the text and then open the Copilot and just take a look at the solutions. That's something, oftentimes like we're looking for things and we don't quite remember how to do it. Because for Sass, like sometimes I go, is that like lighter or lighten? Or I don't know, and what's the exact format? That's exactly the type of thing that you would go into like MDN for, to make sure that you have the proper format and to quite possibly look for an example. So this just kind of gives you all kinds of suggestions for you. So let's talk about, before I answer any questions, I just got access to this last night, so I don't know a ton, but I have read the documentation. So let's see, a couple of disadvantages. The code isn't necessarily perfect code. This thing is brand new, although I think it's been used internally by GitHub and some Microsoft folks as well. This is pretty new, so the code isn't necessarily perfect. And because it's using AI, AI is great, but it isn't perfect or perfectly smart like you would be. So it doesn't know whether the code is good, valid, if it's going to work exactly with the thing that you're doing. So you do want to make sure that you spend some time testing the code that you put in. It can suggest perhaps deprecated solutions. When I ask for some things, like I ask for specific things with React, it would give me like view code sometimes, and sometimes it just didn't know what I meant. So it isn't perfect, but I feel like if I had this as my Copilot, that I would spend a lot less time looking for code in like MDN, and also even on Stack Overflow, and then for it to just give me some quick a quick list of people, that is fantastic. Like that's something that I can use as I begin my application really quick, and as time passes, this is going to get better and better. So context also matters. It does matter where you're asking from. So I imagine that if I was asking for maybe a page with a bunch of React code, that it would give me, it does analyze the code of the page that you're on. I think it's pretty safe. I think that there's two parts of this. There's the extension, the Visual Studio Code extension, and then there's the AI that is on servers. And so the extension is what works inside Visual Studio Code, and they are going to expand this in the future. And then the other part is the actual AI. So you can see that when you're typing things in, that it does, a lot of times, you'll notice that it does take a while for the solution to come up. It's microseconds right now, but it is taking a little bit of time. That I am sure with time is going to get a lot faster. It does use state-of-the-art AI hardware, so that's what's making it take so long. If you want to get a hold of this right now, it's available, like I mentioned, to a limited number of testers for free. Chances are that this is going to be, I can assure you that this is going to be some sort of paid product eventually, or you may have, the way that GitHub and Microsoft works right now, if you use something like Code Spaces, you have a certain kind of amount of free, amounts that you can use it, and then you would get charged something. Microsoft is usually pretty good about keeping, and GitHub especially, about keeping some things free, or giving you some sort of, maybe they'll, right now I have no idea, but maybe they'll, make it free for open source projects. I don't know, but chances are that there is going to be some kind of commercial version of this, or it may be integrated. The fact that it's a GitHub Copilot means that it'll be integrated into whatever GitHub is doing. I don't have a ton of answers on that, but I can tell you that the reason I'm doing this thing is because I'm super excited about it, clearly. It really, it's going to change the way that I code and how often I go looking for things. So let's see if we have any. Oh, look. So yeah, make sure that the first step is make sure that you apply for that waiting list. I imagine that every company, or every like Silicon Valley company, doesn't release everything to everybody nowadays. They release things in tiers. So get your name in there early. So they'll release it in batches. If you know somebody in GitHub, go bug them. That's how I got in. Like I have some friends in there. So that's great. Hey, greetings from Uruguay. Hello, I'm in Florida. It's raining here. You may hear my dogs barking in the background somewhere. So how to apply? Just go to the website. Somebody had put in, so codepilot.github.com, and hit one of the buttons. I showed it earlier. And then you just put in your email or your GitHub account. I think your email, and then they know your GitHub account from that. So clearly you have to have a GitHub account in order to do that. So Samula says, I think they have a sign up button, click follow instructions. So I put the link earlier. Does it work with R? I didn't see R as one of the languages, but I imagine, it's an AI that is based on publicly available code. So I can't imagine why they couldn't add every language. And I can imagine there are a lot of samples on the website, so you can actually see it at work using different samples, and you can tap through the different types of languages there. So that's going to be pretty cool. I did not see this one coming. Like I said, I have friends, but I didn't see this one coming. They must have, I wonder if they acquired a company and that's where this is coming from, this AI. I think one of the things that's really exciting is that GitHub is really becoming just more than a place to put your code, with things coming up like code spaces, trying to put, all the coding in the cloud, and these kind of features. It's really making it, more of a coding community. So, this is definitely, this is definitely going to affect how much looking for stuff you do. How much will it help the beginners? I think a lot, because you're just going to be looking for a lot less code. A lot of the solutions are great. And a lot of times, one of the ways that you learn as a beginner and even as an expert is you look at how people have solved problems in the past. So the fact that it's giving you all this code to look at, if you'll notice, a lot of the solutions that it'll give you is maybe not the way that you would have done something, or perhaps I know that, for example, when I was doing a search, it automatically brought up the fact that you should lowercase your keywords and, the thing that you're searching, to make sure that you don't have to worry about capitalization differences. Wasn't something that I was thinking right at when I typed in that code, but it's nice that it gave me that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I remembered that I need to do that. Or if you are, a lot of times when I look for something on the end, I'm looking for specifically the example on how to do something. And as this thing gets smarter, it's just going to cut down your coding time and get you to the, to a finished product quicker. In a way, it attributes the open source. I don't know that it does. that's a good point. I don't know that it does. Perhaps reading the FAQs might give you more insight into that. And yeah, that is it. I mean, I don't have a lot more to say. I'm just I know that now I'm, I do wish more people had access to it quicker. I am super thankful that I have access to it, and I just wanted to jump in and show it to you. A lot of times the websites are great, but it's better to sort of get a little bit of hands-on, and hopefully this was helpful. And as I mentioned, I plan to do more. And I asked in a poll what people wanted me to do for streams, and I think discussing these kind of tools is going to be really cool. And I really enjoy that some people jumped in and answered questions. So that's pretty much all I have, and we'll end this broadcast, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.